Welcome back, everybody. I have literally just woken up. I haven't been out of bed yet. And I was thinking, why not film a video about hedonism and the pursuit of happiness? Okay, so hedonism is contentious. Some people don't like it. Hedonism is like, if you define it, it's the supreme pursuit of pleasure and happiness and that kind of stuff. And usually it's like referred as a bad thing. And it has like a lot of negative connotations to it. So maybe what I'm talking about isn't necessarily hedonism because that's kind of an extreme form, but I want to talk about sort of the pursuit of happiness and should happiness be your main focus, your main pursuit, only doing what you like, only doing what you want, because it's an interesting philosophical question, and that's kind of what I do. So for this video, I used hedonism in the title purely as sort of a provocative title, because apparently that's how you're supposed to YouTube, so I'm gonna try that. Apologies to everyone who intellectually watches these videos and leaves very thoughtful comments. I don't mean to use hedonism as like a as like a serious thing, I'm kind of using it facetiously. But what I'm really interested in talking about is the pursuit of happiness, and should happiness be the be all end all goal of life. So, in my view, I think that in almost every circumstance, you should choose the thing that will make you the happiest. And I'm not coming from a perspective of like utilitarianism of like, well, it's the greatest happiness for the most amount of people or anything like that. Because I think utilitarianism is a flawed philosophy personally, but I'd love to hear your comments on that. But I think in most situations, you absolutely want to pursue happiness. I think there are a few occasions and circumstances in which foregoing happiness for a longer term gratification or things like that, I think that is important. But 9 times out of 10, just do what makes you happy, pursue what makes you happy. If you're in a job that you hate and 20 years down the road there's the ability to become a partner, or there's prospects of something better, that's not it. If it takes 10 or 20 years to achieve and really make it, pay your dues, I don't think it's worth it. I'm sorry, I know that's a privileged perspective. I recognize my privilege, I recognize that stuff, but it still exists, and I think it's still a valid criticism. I am not waiting 10 or 20 years in order to make partner at a law firm or an accounting firm or anything. If it means that in those 10 years I am spending back-breaking work, working until 10 o'clock at night, dealing with a boss I hate, dealing with office workers and a office community of gossip and toxic sort of perspectives, like, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not. 10 years of my life, I am here for a finite amount of time. I could go tomorrow, I could go next week. I am not going to put in that kind of time for a gratification, especially if that gratification is money. And I'm going to sound very I'm not going to sound good, and I recognize that, and please leave me your comments. I'm happy, I'm going to answer all of them. But money is not the most important thing. Money is important, especially in our society. You want to be able to, keep a roof over your head, provide the basic needs that you need for life, be able to help those in need and help your community. But money is not it. Money is not the entire goal. Our entire society is built on maximizing your monetary worth, and it's not good. And I'm not anti-capitalist, far from it, actually. I'm probably one of the few spiritual people on the planet who views capitalism as it's definitely a mixed bag. It's definitely good and bad, but it has pulled a lot of people out of poverty. It has created some amazing innovation. The technology from capitalism has been unrivaled, and I think that's evident through things like the Cold War and even World War II to a certain extent. But money isn't everything. I think the teachings of Taoism and of Buddhism can teach you that a simple life can yield the highest amount of pleasure. And that's the other thing that this video is going to talk about. So on one hand, you have the ideas of pursuing happiness, not focusing on things that are negative or bring you down or make you feel bad. But you also have this element of sort of like a simple life, and like I'm not pursuing like a bunch of hedonistic pleasure, like I'm not drinking and getting drunk every night and like hiring, hookers or whatever, like I'm not. My simple pleasure is reading a book at night and being able to have a lovely sleep in a nice bed in a nice room, focusing on my plants, my health, my family, very simple things like that. Seeing my friends for a coffee. I'm not looking for the whole world, and I'm not looking for like to drive around in a Lamborghini or things like that. I think that is capitalistic hedonism, and I'm not interested in that. What I am interested in is pursuing the things that make me appreciate life, being there for my family and friends. And if you want to call that hedonistic, then yes, I'm a hedonist. But I think most people would agree that I am just merely enjoying life's simple pleasures. And even talking with a stranger is like such a pleasure and such a delight to learn about their life and see what they're doing. And that costs nothing, just time, which, is really the only commodity that we can actually possess, and then you don't possess it, it possesses you. So yes, that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's interesting that the topic today is, I think, quite a contentious topic. I think a lot of people would say, no, you need to pay your dues, you need to put in the work, you need to work hard to get to a certain level. And, it's going to be a grind, it's going to be a slog, it's going to be late nights and working weekends and foregoing spending time with friends and family. Like, you're going to have to sacrifice. And I'm sorry, but I don't subscribe to that. I mean, if you are in a career where that is absolutely required and you have to, and you love that career, then, you have to justify that sacrifice to yourself. And I mean, go ahead. And I think a lot of people who really rally against what I'm saying and really disagree with what I'm saying will have lived a life where they seriously sacrificed an awful lot. And in order to justify their continued existence, they're going to be really upset about this. And so I foresee, and like I could be totally wrong, right? Because 9 times out of 10 when I talk to you guys and when you leave comments, they are amazingly thoughtful. I'm blown away by your stories, and I love connecting with you guys. So thank you for that. But I think a topic like this is contentious because many people in life have sacrificed, have worked hard. My parents are good examples. My grandparents are amazing examples. They have worked incredibly hard. They enjoy life now. They enjoy life, all my grandparents and parents are retired and that kind of thing. But they worked incredibly hard. I mean, my dad put in hours and hours in the pig barns at like 1 a.m. I remember him just exhausted when I was a child, and he would come home from work, and or he like the barns were just down the road, and he would come home and just collapse into a chair and, was so tired he couldn't even eat. So, but I grew up watching that, and I grew up um, seeing the fruits of his hard work and his labor. And obviously, it had a huge impact on the way my brother and I live our lives. And that's not to say that I don't work hard. I don't want to have this perception of like, oh, he's just like, he's super lazy. And like, I am lounging in bed currently. So I understand how you could make that misconception. But I work very hard. I'm very disciplined and diligent. But the work I'm doing is stuff that I love to do. So when I'm on the farm and I have to plant, 500 trees in an afternoon, and it's scorching hot, but the trees have to get planted. They get planted, like I sincerely enjoy that kind of work. I like working outside. I've always liked working with my hands. I do a lot of woodworking. I did a lot of the woodworking in this house. And so it's not to say that I, don't work hard. I don't appreciate hard work, because I absolutely do. But I only do the work that I truly enjoy doing. So if, for example, if the electrical work in my house goes funny, I'm going to hire an electrician. I know some very basic electrical work. My dad knows a lot as well, but it's not worth it to me to bugger around with amp meters and trying to find the source of some lost amps in my house. It's just not worth it. So I will hire an electrician, and they will come out and they will do what needs to be done. Because it's not something I know. It's not something I trust myself to do properly. And I don't want to do it. Plain and simple. I don't want to do it. So I think the lesson here is work hard, but work hard at the things that you love to do. Work hard at the things you want to do. I understand there is an element that, sometimes you have to work. Like I was in school from the time that I could walk until 25 years old. Like I was in school. I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, university. And the whole time I was in it, especially when I was about 23, 24, 25, I was so worried and I had so much anxiety about dying before I'd actually graduated from university. I was so incredibly worried. I was like, they can just put on my tombstone, in school his whole life, homework ridden, boy dies getting hit by a bus or something. And I was just like, how disappointing it would be for me. I'd be gone, but like if I could look back, and I would just be so upset that I spent my whole life in school in a classroom when the world was out here and I didn't get to really explore a whole lot of it. And I was super worried that I was going to die before graduating. Thankfully, I graduated, and now I get to live life exactly how I want it on my terms. I have my degree. I have, a worldly experience of university that I think was fantastic. I had great university experiences. I really enjoyed what I did. But I wanted more experience from life than just a classroom and university professors and stuff like that. So now I'm really pursuing that, and I am learning more every day now than I ever did in university, than I ever did in middle school or high school. And I've always been somebody who learns outside of the classroom way better. I'm not one of these people that learns very well inside one. So now I wake up and I pursue what I want. So for example, today I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work on my muscles and my body. I will be listening to a podcast while I'm there. I've been listening to this podcast by a he's got a degree in the philosophy of science. Apologies. And I've been listening to him, and while I don't agree with a lot of what he's saying, he is really just advocating for some interesting ideas as it relates to science, creationism, theology, and human experience, which is kind of interesting. So I will be listening to that while I go to the gym. Then I need to go grocery shopping because we need some stuff at the farm. My dad is out of Earl Grey tea, which we'll simply not do. Um, and then I'm going to go have lunch with a friend who I haven't seen in a while, so it'll be nice to see her, and probably have a family dinner. So I'll be doing a whole bunch of work in between those things. My work usually happens in between marketing, managing, um, some of the stuff that I'm connected with, but it's all stuff I want to do. It's all stuff that I've got a drive for, an interest for. And so I'm not purely just, pursuing the pursuit of happiness and pleasure, but in some ways I kind of am because I'm doing stuff that I want to do. I'm fortunate not to have oversight in terms of a boss looking over my shoulder or sending me emails. I have friends who really struggle with bosses, and I don't know the answer to that. I think it's hard, especially when you're sacrificing um, freedom for security. You're sacrificing the ability to pursue what you love for a stable job that pays consistently, that allows you to do the things you want to do. Um, but someone said recently that, what are we supposed to do? Pursue happiness on the weekends? Those numbers don't stack up for me. 5 days of torture plus and then 2 days of hedonistic pleasure. That's not the way. That's not the way. Like, that should not be the way people live their lives. And again, like, true happiness and the pursuit of happiness should come from within. And that doesn't cost anything. It really doesn't. It doesn't cost anything to wake up and take a deep breath and say, I'm happy because I'm happy, you know? Um, yeah, so I mean, I really try and embrace that happiness and the pursuit of what I love. So I hope you're able to as well. I get quite a few questions, and I think a running theme in some of the questions I get is someone will come and they will say, like, Jax, like, I'm a bit conflicted because I'm doing a job that I really hate, but I'm trying to pursue happiness and mindfulness and spirituality. What do I do? And obviously, like, I can't give you a good answer because, like, I don't know. I don't have the skills to be able to, and I would never, like, tell anybody, like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, I can be there and I can give guidance and I can listen, but at the end of the day, I'm just some stupid kid on the internet who doesn't know anything. Um, but what I say to them is, are you currently sacrificing freedom for security? And they will either say yes or no, or, what do you mean? And I'll say, okay, well, the there is really no security in life. Security is a false illusion, because you can have the greatest bank vault in the world and somebody will figure out how to crack it. You can be the safest person on the planet and you can still catch a cold and die. You can be the most street conscious, look both ways before you cross the street, and a bus can still hit you. You can be the most anti-gun person in the world and some wingnut can come into a Walmart and shoot it up. Like, there are inevitabilities in our world that are sad realities. We are not safe. There is suffering. That is what Buddhism teaches. We have this eternal suffering in life and we have to figure out how to deal with it. So if you are sacrificing your freedom for security, it's kind of a false dichotomy. Like, it's a false sense of security, because you could get fired tomorrow. It doesn't matter how safe you think you are at this job that you hate. You're not. I'm sorry, nobody is. Like, everything I do, it could end tomorrow, and I understand that. And while that would suck and that would be very sad and I'd have to figure out a different way to do it, I would just have to move on and figure out what my next move was. So I tell them that security is no excuse for pursuits of true happiness. And it just isn't. It's just not the way. So I try and tell people that come to me with this question, please analyze what you're doing, truly appreciate. And I mean, you don't have to receive 100% pleasure out of what you do. You know, there are elements of what I do that I don't like, that aren't 100% pleasurable and enjoyable. So I get through them and then I move on to what I want to do. And I think that's the only way we can be. I'm going to stop ADHD rambling. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching this one. I'm really interested in your comments because, as I said, this topic is interesting and it's one I'm constantly thinking about. And my I want to be very humble with this one, and I want to quickly say, like, I do not have the answers. I'm giving you my perspective as a 26-year-old man who is pursuing what he wants to do. And I don't pretend to know everything. I really don't want to say, like, I'm trying to tell you what to do. I'm just giving you my perspective on it. And I'm very interested in your perspective, especially perspectives of people who have had a, quote, career. Because I haven't had a career, obviously, and I've only talked to people and, listened to the stories of people who are far older and far wiser than I am tell me their experiences. So I'm really interested in people who've had like a 20-year long career or a 30 or 40-year long career, and what your perspective on this whole idea is. Because, yeah, do you just pursue happiness, or do you put in the work and then find happiness in other things that you do, in your hobbies, in your friends and family, in your weekends, in your holidays? I don't know. But thank you so much if you've made it this far. I think we're like 21 minutes in. I love you guys. I hope you're doing amazing. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I hope you're really embracing what you want to do today, and you get to do something today that's just for you, just for your own hedonistic pleasure. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.